It is a minute of more on UATV, Minute of Righteous Explanation. But first of all, let me thank you guys. You were asking, where's Henry Keane? And it warms my heart. Here I am. As a bearer of a European passport, I was using a lucky opportunity to visit my German parts of the family once a year since I came to Ukraine and was here ever since the first weeks of the war broke out. But here I am back answering your question, guys. The question I picked to answer that is a question by user Jean-Claude Jr. Do pro-Russian people pose a threat to NATO, European Union, Switzerland, Japan, Israel, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Bosnia? Let us first be sure that we are using one and the same terminology here. Pro-Russian-minded Russians today mean pro-Putin Russians. And pro-Putin Russians, whether living in Europe or in any of the countries that you, Jean-Claude Jr., have listed, are nothing else but a neoplasm inside the body of the host country. Putinism is a cancerous tumor spreading metastases of Kremlin's propaganda, imperial arrogance, justification of political and physical oppression against anyone who opposes its dreadful violent paradigm. Moreover, demanding an absolution for it, since they claim to be the carriers of great Russian culture and that absolutely religious faith in Kremlin's propaganda and Putin's holy right to whatever he pleases. To fake democratic elections, for example, to change the constitution to satisfy his tsaric needs, to start wars without being able to end them, to destroy every liberty and freedom because any liberty and freedom poses a direct threat to the Kremlin. That is everything that the historian and political scientist and the world's leading expert on Russia, Timothy Snyder, calls a Russism. Russism is a modern form of fascism. So in fact, dear Jean-Claude, what you're asking me is if fascism is posing any threat. And the user lookup is right here to answer you, saying no, Russia does not pose any threat to those countries, but only to Ukraine. Well, the user lookup is right, you see. Russian fascism does not pose any threat to New Zealand or Japan or Australia, since the distance between Russia and these countries is the only thing that is not letting Russia to pose such a threat. If you are far away from Russia, and there are not many pro-Russian fascists living in your country, you are just fine. However, if, God forbid, it is not the case and Russia is your neighbor, then this is what is going to happen.
Опа, уражених осколків.
Ну, такі спокійні, я не знаю. От ви як? Психологічно.
Психологічно.
This footage was done by my colleagues near the very front line. That is what the war looks like. And that is exactly what Russia will bring to your doorstep if let to. So, suit yourself, dear UATV subscribers, if that poses a threat to your country, wherever you live. Suit yourself whether to call an aggressive war or use Putin's lingo and call it a special military operation. Suit yourself if those threats to the great Russian language and culture are true, or just a pretext used by the Kremlin to draw blood and justify terror and genocide wherever Russia comes. Suit yourself if to call Russian occupation and terror a liberation. Suit yourself, but be careful. Whatever you're going to call things, things are going to become for you. So it is better to look at the facts here in Ukraine as a clear and obvious example. Ukraine is telling you that Putin is a maniacal dictator on his never-ending quest for power, and it was, is, and always will be the case just as well, since the dictators just do not change. Ukraine is telling you that Russia does pose a threat to any country in the world which is trying to exercise democracy as a main societal virtue. Ukraine is telling you that pro-Putin fascists and their oil-lactating mother Russia poses a threat to every nation within its reach, including first of all the Russians themselves. Look at all those waves of Russian meat thrown into the grinder of Bakhmut, for example. Again and again and again, hundreds of thousands of useless deaths. What for? Putin's outdated Soviet imperial ambitions only. So such yourself whether a state such as Russia poses a threat to Japan, New Zealand or Australia. And if you decide to ignore what is happening today in Ukraine and fall into this not our war mire, well then, Mark my words, Russia will come to you at some point. And as soon as it does, dear subscriber, you then won't have to ask UATV to explain if Russia poses any threat. You will then find it out for yourself, which I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, wish not to happen to you. It was Henry Keane on UATV Ukrainian State Channel, hoping to explain enough of our truth in easy enough terms for you today. And I also strongly recommend watching an interview with Greta Uling, the author of the Daily War book. This is the investigation of the war against Ukraine since 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea and part of Donbass. Also, please do not forget to subscribe and ask us any questions in comments below, and we will do our best to answer it online. Thank you. Stay safe and tune for more. See you then.